So, because Juice Galaxy is releasing on Steam for the first time, we're going to be doing a Juice Galaxy challenge. So, today's challenge is going to be beating Juice Galaxy, all the bosses, with only an anvil attached to my head. So, let's see how this goes. So, the rules are I have to beat every boss, I can't have any arms, I can't pick up any items that would go in my hand, except for the plunger, and we'll get to that later. I can't upgrade my arm power at all, and I can only deal damage through the anvil. Now that we're done with that, it's time to get started. After this was complete, I went to the graveyard and started farming the gravestones. Now, I'm farming the gravestones for two reasons. Number one, you can get lots of juice to upgrade your character, and number two, I'm looking for rare juice particles that could help upgrade my anvil later on. After doing a little more farming and upgrading my stats, I decided to try and take on the first boss. I drove over to the evil hut, went down the trap door, navigated the tunnels, and it was time to take on the first boss. Now, the first boss isn't too challenging when you have decent stats, and if you die, you can also farm this boss for a lot of juice. As you can see here, it wasn't too difficult for me to deal a lot of damage to him and almost take him out. Now, what you can see here are juice particles. Now, there are three main juice particles I'm looking for to upgrade my anvil, and these are very good. Now, what these juices do, the first one, the blue one, is arcing juice, and that will basically let whatever you hit, some of the damage to chain to nearby enemies. The one in the middle is searing juice that lights enemies on fire and does a little bit of damage over time. And the last one, probably the most important, is hard juice, just as a straight up damage increase. It's very good. Now, after I get back, I do a little more farming and a little more upgrading, and then I have to do the baddie cutscene. Now, for those of you who don't know, the baddie cutscene gives you the power to suck enemies' dead bodies for juice, but is very annoying and takes a while, so. No. After that, I did a little farming and some stat upgrades. Here I put all of my stats into flight and energy regen so I can get to the Miss Slithers fight easy. After I make it up here, I put all of my stats back to where they were so I'm ready for the fight. During the fight, I find some searing juice, so that's good. Unluckily, after this, I die almost immediately. However, during this fight, I got a lot of juice, so I spec into some more points before I do the fight again. So after repeating this process of dying and collecting juice a couple times, I finally had enough juice and enough stats to defeat Miss Slithers. Now, after defeating Miss Slithers, collecting her juice, and investing some juice points, I was tired, and it was time to go to bed. When I woke up the next morning, I had remembered the structures in the outer wilderness of Juice Galaxy. Now, these structures have chests in them, and these chests can contain rare juice particles. It's mostly prismatic juice, but the occasional one has some hard juice, arcing juice, or searing juice, which are the three main juices that we're looking for. After driving out to some of these structures, the hunt was mostly unsuccessful, but we did find a couple knockback juice and a couple searing juice, so that was pretty good. After this hunt, I added all the juice particles to my anvil that I needed and disposed of my inventory. After completing this, I decided that I needed to get a high juice count so I could upgrade my stats a lot. And what better way to do this than to practice some unethical juice farming? So, now how this works is the fact that you can still collect juice even when you're dead. So, if you're in the creator fight and you die, your body is still hitting things, will collect juice, will add it to your juice count, and the more polywogs that hit you, the more juice you will get. After amassing unholy amounts of juice and upgrading my stats with it, I decided it was time for some of the hardest boss fights in the game. So I flushed myself down the toilet. I slowly make my way through the tunnels to get to the big boss fight. I set my checkpoint at this juice fountain and prepare to fight Sergeant Sucker Punch. Now, this fight usually consists of me slamming my forehead into him until he dies, and that is exactly what I did. I get some hard juice here, which is nice for the upcoming bosses. Now, unfortunately, the only way to damage the upcoming boss, the Clog, is with a plunger, so the one exception to defeating bosses with my anvil is going to have to be this, or else it just would not be a possible challenge. But I am picking up the plunger, and I am only using it to defeat the Clog member. Now, this fight was really easy and was done in about 15 seconds. After watching this cutscene and having defeated 4 bosses, there were only 2 left. Now it was time for an extremely difficult boss who has lots of health and lots of damage. Luckily, I conquered it after a little while. I died, but I got a little juice from the fight, so that's good. I used the strategy of flying at him at max speed until I hit him, and this did enough damage eventually. I intend to do speedruns and more challenges of this game, so if you're enjoying this content, please subscribe, it helps out a lot, and I would like it. Another major problem with this fight is that when he hits me a lot, I have to retreat for a while to heal up, which just makes the fight so much longer than it needs to be. This was a super slow fight compared to the Clog, but I whittled his health down eventually, and the fight was over. After I defeated this boss, I also got a little searing juice to help me out with the next fight. I rode over to the wasp nest in my car to start on the final fight of this video. I readied up my stats, and I was just about ready to go. Now, the hardest thing about this fight is going to be that I have to get very, very close to the Wasp Queen to do damage. And the problem with this is she shoots homing stinger missiles, which light me on fire and deal tons of damage to me, which makes this fight pretty annoying, but if you know how to dodge the missiles, it's not too bad. A strategy you can use is retreating toward the lava, where it's a lot harder for her and her wasps and stingers to get there, so this is what I did a couple times. I finally defeated her, and the doors to her castle unlocked, which pretty much marks the end of this challenge. Now, I cheated the anvil in at the very beginning of this video, but traditionally, the only way to obtain the anvil in this game is actually after this fight. The chest in the very middle drops the anvil. This challenge was inspired by a game called Orba's Odyssey, which recently released on Steam. It's an awesome game, you should check it out. Link will be in the description. I made none of this music in this video. This was all composed by Juice Galaxy developers, and link will be in the description to their work as well.